All right, folks. Welcome today. My name is Sean Van Diver. I'm the president of AfghanEvac and the founder of AfghanEvac, co-founder of All right, folks. Battle Buddies, alongside IAVA CEO Kyle Ann Hunter, who you will hear from later. Today, we're here to talk a little bit about. Let me pull up my notes here. All right, folks. As I said, my name is Sean Van Diver, founder and president of AfghanEvac. I'm a Navy veteran, and AfghanEvac is veteran-led, but represents a wide cross-section of the American experience. We make sure we're dedicated to ensuring that the U.S. keeps our promises to our Afghan allies. Since August 2021, we've helped more than 195,000 Afghans relocate to safety through legal pathways in conjunction with the United States government. Today, we're here to talk about what's happening here in our country to our wartime allies. Specifically today, we're here to talk about a man named Zia. Zia worked with the U.S. forces at Camp Mike Spann as a translator. His family was tortured by the Taliban because of that service. He entered the U.S. legally after submitting a special immigrant visa application, and you're going to hear more details about this from his attorney. But he entered legally on humanitarian parole, got chief of mission approval, has a pending green card application, and no criminal history. And yet, when he was leaving a biometrics appointment after doing everything right last week, masked ICE agents, threw him into an unmarked van and have taken him to detention. They moved him across state lines from Connecticut to Massachusetts. And look, this isn't a misunderstanding. It's a policy shift. The Trump administration is recategorizing lawful immigrants as illegal in order to fast-track removals. They're skipping due process. They're detaining people mid-status and targeting those who trusted us enough to stand by us during war, targeting the friends of United States military service members. Zia is not alone. We've seen Afghan parole. We've seen parole canceled for Afghans and others. We've seen the CARE office dissolved, the Coordinator for Afghan Relocation Efforts. Enduring Welcome, the safest, most secure legal immigration program in our history, has been shut down. And now we're seeing targeted detentions and removals of people with active legal pathways. So this press conference isn't about just one man, although we are going to focus on him. It's about whether this country honors its word to those who risk everything. Now, we're going to get into the legal details in a moment, but before we get there, we are privileged today to be joined by several elected officials from both Massachusetts and Connecticut, and we're going to hear from them first. Senator Blumenthal, we'd like to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Sean. And I'm not going to take any umbrage at your suggestion that I am not capable of talking about the legal details. As a former attorney general, I've actually come to learn something about the law involved here, but I'm glad to be relieved of that obligation by Lauren Peterson, who is very, very knowledgeable about the legal issues in this case and generally affecting our Afghan allies. I want to offer my thanks to Congressman Keating and Congresswoman Hayes, two of my colleagues, and to my staff, Jenny Piazza, and others who have worked consistently over many years on behalf of our Afghan allies. Let me just begin at the beginning to show that the failure here is a bipartisan one, because I went to the Biden White House before the United States withdrew from Afghanistan, and I said to them, in effect, we were meeting in a classified setting, you have to do something to make sure that we get our allies out of Afghanistan. They will be potential victims of torture, murder. Their families are at risk. These folks worked with us, stood with us, saved our troops and our diplomats' lives as interpreters, as guides, just like Zia did. So this cause is a long-established one with me. And in fact, my son, one of my sons, Matthew, who served in Afghanistan as a United States Marine, as a infantry officer, brought over one of his interpreters. It took him a year or more. So I've seen it up close. And I've also worked to get these Afghan allies out of Afghanistan, helping to facilitate the chartering of planes and other transportation. This issue is a long-standing one with me. And one of my friends in Connecticut is Huat Hamad, who was my guest at the State of the Union a couple of years ago, and whose citizenship I attended. He's a proud citizen now, again, an Afghan ally who is part of the community in Connecticut that welcomes Zia and his family of 5 children and his wife. What happened to him is the worst kind of abhorrent violation of basic decency. Put aside the legal causes and issues here, for masked agents to snatch someone off the street with no warning, no counsel, no opportunity even to know who is doing it while it's in process is un-American. And we all ought to be ashamed and disgraced by what has happened to him, because he actually worked and risked his life in Afghanistan to uphold the values and rights that is central to democracy. And for now, him to be, in effect, violated in his rights when he has fought for those rights here is completely disgraceful. So what we have now is an opportunity to elevate this issue, to sound the alarm. I will tell Zia, if I have the chance to do it directly, but right now, to Zia, we have your back. We're going to fight for you. We're going to leave no stone unturned. We will leave no opportunity for advocacy unused, because this cause is an American cause. And I want to thank veterans like Sean, who know firsthand what these Afghan allies did to save the lives of our troops and our diplomats, to make them more effective and to safeguard them. For us to betray them now is a violation of basic trust. A great nation keeps its promises. We promised them we would bring them here, they would be safe. Zia thought he was safe when he arrived in America, the land of freedom and opportunity. Where in the world are you safer than in America? And as it turns out, he was totally unsafe because of this administration. Again, this cause should be bipartisan. There is nothing red or blue about these issues. It ought to be bipartisan, and the ones who know best, I'll just finish on this note, are the veterans. And the reason they know best is because they worked alongside these interpreters and guides and others in the dust of Afghanistan, amidst the fire directed at them. They know how these Afghan allies risked everything, and they counted on us to keep our word. That's what buddies do for friends under threat. That's what keeps our troops together in times of the utmost challenge. And I am passionate about this issue because it really is a matter of basic American trust. And just one final note to Americans who may be wondering, why does it matter? Well, one of these days, one of your sons or daughters may be abroad, counting on another ally in another country, in another kinetic situation, to stand by them in a moment of danger. the only way you can count on those friends and allies is if we keep our word now, because we can't be trusted if we do to our allies what happened to Zia. My heart goes out to his family. I know how traumatic this must be for his children, not to mention his wife. And I think that this kind of treatment of any human being, but especially one to whom we've made this kind of utterly abhorrent and unacceptable. Again, Sean, thank you. And to all the veterans who are part of this effort, thank you all.
Thank you so much, Senator Blumenthal. And just for everybody in the room, Senator Blumenthal has been a strident partner with AfghanEvac and of our allies. I think we've done several press conferences together now, and your staff has been so extraordinary. So thank you for always being available for veterans and for our allies. Another gentleman who has been with us since the beginning is Congressman Keating from Massachusetts, from Plymouth, where Zia is being held. And I'm going to toss it over to him in one moment. I want to make sure that everybody here knows we're going to send out a recording of this. You're going to get a fact sheet at the end. We are live streaming it on YouTube, and this will all be available, and I'll be moderating through the rest of this. So, Congressman, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Sean, and thank you for your work that you've done. It's interesting with Senator Blumenthal and myself, both of us in different capacities, dealt with immigration issues. He, as Attorney General, but I was a district attorney before being in Congress. And so, just so people are aware, we cooperated. We worked with the legal due process way of deporting people that shouldn't be here. And we have that as a background, a shared background. It's great to be joined too by Representative Hayes in Connecticut, where Zia's family and where he was living. I'm here not just because of the support in the past, Sean, that you've had and working with AfghanEvac, but also I represent Plymouth, where Zia is being detained right now. As coincidence would occur, my district director is leading a staff of other Massachusetts congressional staff members through that facility, and we'll ask at the end of that visit to see if he can speak directly with Zia at the facility. This is not just about Zia. It's not just about Afghans that helped. This truly, as Sean, you mentioned, as the senator mentioned, this is about supporting our veterans. I must tell you, I recall one instance in particular in Helmand province in Afghanistan, where I would say to a group of Marines that were there, if there's anything I can do, let me know. And in this one instance, they said, there is something you could do if you're willing to. They wanted me to come out in the cover of darkness at night to the village with them and to meet with an Afghan that was there. They explained to me that he was explaining the location of, IEDs, explosive devices. He was saving every day the lives of our veterans. And they had thanked him time and time again. They also told me it was likely after the meeting that he probably wouldn't live for a very long period of time because of the danger of that. But they asked me to join them and to simply thank him in general, because they thought having a congressman from the US thank them would give them another level of security, another level of confidence that our word was good, that they would take care of them afterwards. Now, in Zia's instance, the information we have, and it's coming as as this progresses, but is that indeed he had an approved humanitarian parole visa, and he had travel documents issued by the U.S. Embassy, that the chief of mission approved his SIV, or special immigration visa, and that he was provided, and this is important, with safe entry at JFK into the United States. So he came here with the support and accompanying of the U.S. government. So that's how he arrived. That's how he's here. He had a pending green card. He played by the rules. And suddenly, playing by the rules, showing up for an obligation in progress for biometric review that he was doing what he was told to do. And the horror of doing what you're supposed to do and then having that suddenly turn into having 6 agents, masked agents, take him and put him in a van and detain him in another state is something that, regardless of the circumstances, is inexcusable. It's not the way due process works. It's not the way it worked when I was enforcing the law in a prior job before this. And it's not the way we should act. We have an obligation, not just to these individuals, but to those veterans that gave their words when their lives are being saved. And that's what's critically important for people to understand. This isn't about one person. This is about thousands of people. This isn't about just a class of people trying to gain citizenship here and have a pathway and a safe haven. This is about our veterans. If their word means nothing when they're in the battlefield risking their lives and being saved in so many instances by the support of people like Zia, who are giving their services as their family and their own lives were being threatened and tortured, then what does that mean for our word going forward? What does that mean for the word of the United States government and its military? What does that mean for future instances where our sons and daughters are going to be deployed in areas that are unsafe and that whose lives can be saved and protected with the cooperation of people and allies like Zia? Is this the betrayal that's going to make our own people more vulnerable? Well, if we don't speak up, if we don't act, if we don't let the laws of this country and the word of the United States government mean anything, that'll be the message going forward. It doesn't matter if you play by the rules. It doesn't matter that you risked your lives. It doesn't matter whether you trusted the military people that you were working with. None of that matters. Well, that's not tolerable. So we're going to continue to make sure we press in this individual instance with Zia, but also in the broader sense. It's a national disgrace that we're taking the people that we gave their word, the people that came here, played by the rules, their families did, and risked everything and their families there, only to have a betrayal back here at home. So thank you for your work, and we'll continue to press forward.
Thank you so much, Congressman. We really appreciate you and your office always showing up for our allies. And we appreciate you taking the time to be here today. We've got one more elected official, one more federal elected official. Actually, the office that flagged Zia's case for us, Zia's representative in the House of Representatives, Congresswoman Hayes. Congresswoman, thank you so much.
Well, thank you all so much, and thank you for hosting this call. And yes, my office was contacted last week by the family. Very simply had no idea even where Zia was being held. So we worked through the night and through the weekend, and I can tell you for us, this was the first of its kind. We've had constituents who have been detained by ICE, but the idea that we had someone who was here legally, had not had any interaction with law enforcement, who was doing everything that they were supposed to do, who were invited to this country and escorted into the country to now be detained and the family not know where they were. So it was incredibly overwhelming. We worked through the night. We reached out to other offices, but we were incredibly grateful for AfghanEvac when we found out, oh, wait, there are people who this is all they do, who literally, I mean, it's a community that you hate to have a constituent be a part of, but the support, we just could not have been more grateful and thankful to be able to connect the family and let them know that we are working hard at this. And there are people, there are lawyers, there is an organization where this is what they do. But I think we've heard it over and over again. Our credibility is at stake. We have families who have risked everything, not just for themselves, but for their entire family. Zia has a family here in Connecticut. You know, they have given up their homeland. They have risked their health and safety in the name of standing up for the promises of our American democracy. That could not have been easy at the time. So this betrayal has to be that much more difficult in this moment. This represents a policy shift. And while we have an administration that promised mass deportations, that they would rid our streets of criminals who have come to this country illegally, this is not that. This is an attempt to raise those numbers, to save face, to shift public perception, and convince the people in our communities that anyone who immigrates or comes to this country from anywhere around the world poses a danger to us. I would argue that Zia and his family have sacrificed, more on behalf of this country than many of us have even been required to do. So it's not just about our veterans, it's about all of us who go to sleep at night under the cover of safety and protection of our US military and the work that they provide. So, I hate that we are in this moment, but I am happy that we are amplifying it and elevating it, because there are some key components of this case in particular that should stand out for everyone. Zia was doing everything he was asked to do, showing up for appointments. There was no interaction with law enforcement, had followed all of the steps. So when I hear from people, get in line and follow the steps, when you are doing that and this is still the outcome, then what do we do next? There is a fundamental erosion of trust, an erosion of credibility, and really a question that will be lingering when we call on our allies and our friends for help, when we need to build relationships in community, when we need to literally have something as simple as translation in a foreign land. Will people trust the United States, and does our word mean anything? So that is something that has lasting implications, not just in this moment, but in everything that we do going forward. I also want to thank Representative Keating's office. You have been amazing, because although they are Connecticut constituents, the fact that you have partnered with me on the ground and they know that, we are taking care of their family here in Connecticut, but you are doing all you can in Massachusetts, and Senator Blumenthal, for all that you have done. We have a responsibility to this family. We owe them so much. And the fact that this is even being debated in this moment, the fact that with everything going on around the world, people who have given so much, when they didn't have to. I'm sure the work that Zia was doing on behalf of our country, there was an understanding and appreciation that this may mean I can't ever go home. This may mean that I am foregoing my own homeland for the protection of US citizens. This has to mean something. So again, I thank you all for the work that you are doing. My office remains committed to doing all that we can, but also to cataloging this information and sharing it with other offices, so that every single one of our representatives is ready in case something like this happens, so that families have all of the information that they need immediately. Because there were a few hours where my staff was saying, we've never dealt with this before. And we were on the phone, call everybody that you can. So I just think that we all have to be ready. We all have to be armed with the information. And I just am so incredibly grateful that the family thought to call their member of Congress in this moment, so that we can tag in and help. So thank you again for this call and for all of the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman, and welcome to the AfghanEvac family. We're glad to have you. And your staff was really incredible. I just have to say, for all of the members of Congress that are on this call today, the staff has been extraordinary, professional, very good at what they do. Not all staffs are built the same, but your teams have been so.
It was all weekend, late at night. I have another update. We're on a call. I have another number. There's someone else. So literally, it's not after the office closes. It's every time we get information, but also keeping the family informed, because I can't imagine how devastating those hours where they had no idea where their loved one was. I just can't imagine how incredibly painful those moments were.
It's really scary. All right, before we move on to Lauren, who will be up next. Lauren, sorry for taking up so much of your time here. I know that Senator Blumenthal's got to leave shortly. I want to open it up to any reporters who might have questions, so please use the raise your hand function, and we'll get you a question for Senator Blumenthal if you have any. If not, we can continue on.
Any question I'd be happy to take. We're in the middle of a vote, so I do apologize. I'm going to have to break
away. It looks
away.
like Paul Bass has a question.
Hey, Paul.
Paul, what outlet are you from?
I'm from the New Haven Independent.
Wonderful. Go for it.
Thank you, Dick. My only question was, what are your options? You've been dealing with the Trump administration about numerous cases involving immigration. In addition to speaking out, what can you and Hayes do to potentially reverse the decision to detain and deport Zia?
Well, we're going to use every power we have. Part of it is we can use the legal tools like amicus briefs and support for the ongoing legal action. We also can use hearing. I intend to bring up this instances of unfairness and injustice in hearings. We have votes on appropriation, the power of the purse. And we have other legal tools that we can use. And I'm going to use every single one of them because the point here is, just to emphasize again, it's not only about Zia. It's about a broken system that allows ICE agents to seize someone without identifying themselves as he is in a place where not only he deserves to be, but the government has asked him to be. And so there are larger issues affecting more people. And I will use every tool available. I'm not going to discuss all of them here because I don't want to give away some of them that I may be using to the folks who might be on the other side. But keep in mind, we want to do nothing, first do no harm, to impact negatively this individual's plight. Anything we do, we would want to clear with Lauren Peterson. She's doing excellent work. And I just want to give a special thanks to the New Haven Independent because you were on this story from the start, and other press. You know, the Current has also been covering it, and TV. So elevating this issue so the American people understand what is happening here, because there's no way that any American would condone breaking our promise to Zia and to the others. And I will just finish on this point. You know it well, Paul. For Zia to return to Afghanistan is a death sentence. In fact, it's a sentence to torture, beatings for himself and his family. His brother has already been tortured there. And it is, in effect, condemning him to a place where he has a target on his back. There's no way he can go back to Afghanistan safely, having helped the United States against the Taliban.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We got one more question, Josh Eaton, and then we'll let you go, Senator.
Thank you so much, Senator Blumenthal. Joshua Eaton with the New Haven Register. Have the White House or the Department of Homeland Security, USCIS, ICE, have those agencies been engaging with you at all on this issue?
They have not been engaging with me at any level of responsibility. We have reached out to them, but they have been unresponsive. Obviously, on the ground, he's in custody. Lauren Peterson may be in touch with the agencies at that level, but they have not responded to any of the public or private outreach that we've done.
I'm going to add in Rep. Hayes and Rep. Keating to see if they have heard from the agencies at all as well.
I have not at all. My office has not. But this isn't even an issue that just Democrats should care about. We've reached out to some of our Republican colleagues to say, are you aware that this is happening? I know many people don't want to advocate for one specific category or another, but to this, so to the senator's point, the idea that unidentified masked ICE agents are showing up and not giving people any of the due process that they are afforded in this country, or even information that any person, regardless of their citizenship or status, would be afforded. So it's a much broader issue. And again, it is to drive up those numbers of deportations. there is a way to secure our borders, to keep our country safe, to make sure that people are here legally. But we also have a responsibility to ourselves to follow the law. And we have not heard back. And I suspect it's because they just know that this is wrong. This is absolutely wrong. I mean, again, Zia was doing everything that he was supposed to do. So we will just keep pushing back, keep reaching out, keep amplifying this, because something that I've learned here is that public sentiment is everything. The more people understand what is going on, the more our constituencies and the public know that this is happening. People, and not only the people who are affected by it, but everyone who just says this is wrong and we ought not to be doing this.
Right. This is a couple of points just quickly. Number one, this is what we have due process for. Everything we articulated would show us that they could have made a mistake. And when they're putting an artificial trigger of 3,000 people a day and they're scooping people up, that's how mistakes. That's why we need due process. Number two, not with an Afghan person to help, but in my own district, just to show you and answer your question, what have we heard from them? This is across the board. I had a person in New Bedford that was in their automobile with their family. They smashed the windows. They pulled the person out. They were giving the name of another person. They said, that's not me. It didn't matter. They took him, they detained him, they held him. And when we tried to get answers from Homeland Security or the FBI or anyone involved, we were told, believe it or not, we're just not giving you an answer. They literally said, we are not giving you an answer. They said, screen it with the head of the Homeland Security Committee, which I went to, and that person laughed at the idea they were a screener. The arrogance that we're getting when we're asking basic due process questions is unbelievable. So this instance will show a dramatic instance, but I want to let you know, across the board, this is the kind of response that we're getting, the response you get in other countries. And getting back to the danger of Zia, the situation there, from all reports, is worse than it was when he left. The instance of people disappearing, the tortures, the persecution of families is worse than it was before. And this is what they're sending him back to.
Another quick question, and then I'm going to have to run, Sean.
That's all the questions, and we got to get back on track as well. So,
Okay.
Senator, thank you for coming today.
Many, many thanks. Thank you all.
Thank you. Representatives, we hope you'll stay, but we understand if you've got to move. I did hear that votes got canceled today for reasons. Thank you so much, Senator. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
All right. We're going to go right back over to the woman of the hour, intrepid attorney, Lauren Peterson. Lauren, will you tell us all about this case?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I really want to thank the elected officials who have already spoken, and they've highlighted a lot of the points in bits and pieces that I want to make right now as I tell Zia's story and about his legal situation. So as Sean mentioned, I'm Lauren Peterson. I represent Zia. I want to start out by reiterating that Zia has done everything right, and not every attorney gets to say that about her client. But Zia has done everything right. He's followed the rules. He has no criminal history. Zia was approved for humanitarian parole in 2024 due to direct Taliban threats. So what does that mean? It means the US government looked at his specific case, the danger that he was in, the evidence that was submitted by the family member that petitioned for him, and immigration gave him permission in advance to come to the United States. We invited him to come here. A US embassy, specifically the US Embassy in Islamabad, Pakistan, put a travel document into his hand with a visa pasted into it. And using these documents, Zia and his family flew to JFK Airport and legally entered the US. Zia also has a chief of mission approval for his special immigrant visa. This means that he's met every requirement that the US government needs in order to relocate him to the US. So after entering the United States in 2025, he had rented a home, he'd settled his kids into school, he'd found full-time employment. He then continued his legal process by filing an application for a green card. This is something he's eligible for right now because of his service to our country, because he has this chief of mission approval for his SIV case. He was scheduled for a biometrics appointment pursuant to this green card application. This is a necessary step in getting any immigration benefit. Again, Zia followed the rules. On July 16th, just as he was supposed to, he went to his biometrics appointment at a USCIS biometrics facility in Connecticut. As he walked out, he was surrounded by masked ICE agents and detained. ICE put him into expedited removal right away, claiming that he had entered illegally or without documents. Those are the only bases on which an alien can be put into expedited removal. Only those two bases. That claim is false. He had advance parole from USCIS. He had a travel document issued to him by the Department of State. He entered the JFK airport with permission of the Department of Homeland Security. Zia's detention is not only unlawful, it undermines trust in the entire immigration process. Following the rules is supposed to protect you. It's not supposed to land you in detention. If Zia is deported, as so many other people have articulated today, he faces death. There's a certain threat to his life. He's already seen the Taliban's attempts to hurt his family, and they have harmed his family. Zia is not an outlier. We're witnessing the deliberate redefinition of legal entry as illegal for the purpose of meeting enforcement quotas. And the courts are now our last firewall. In Zia's case, a judge has temporarily stayed his removal, but he's still in detention. He's still hours from his family, incredibly hurt and confused about why he's there, and terrified, absolutely terrified that he'll be sent back to Afghanistan. Zia must be released. His case needs to be adjudicated by the rules, the same rules that he has followed. And we need Congress and all of the American public to see what's happening before this continues happening to others.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for your remarks on this. The next person that we have up is Brian McGoldrick, Syed's attorney. And Brian's going to talk about Syed's case. I want to highlight for everybody that Zia and Syed aren't even the only ones. Brian's going to give us an update on Syed, but I just got a report today that a man who was brought here by the coordinator for Afghan relocation efforts, which means he arrived on a durable status, got snatched up off the streets by ICE in Texas and was moved to Arizona. Go ahead, Brian.
Thanks, Sean.
Brian McGoldrick.
Thanks for inviting me here, Sean. Syed was also paroled into the United States. You know, he had permission to be here. He was following the rules. He was at his a master calendar hearing. The government made a motion to dismiss. And as we walked out the door, masked, armed ICE agents took him into custody. The judge ultimately did dismiss his case. The good news is that he had a credible fear interview. He passed his credible fear interview. A new notice to appear has been issued, so he's back in normal removal proceedings. So that's all good news. The bad news is he continues to be detained for unknown reasons. So we're working on trying to get him out of detention. There's a petition for a writ of habeas corpus has been filed. We're doing everything we can to get him out of detention, but at least his asylum application is moving forward. So that's great news for him.
Thank you so much, Brian. You know, I've had the pleasure of going out and visiting Syed along with some other battle buddies. And you're going to hear a little bit about battle buddies here in a minute. But I've had the pleasure of going to see Syed, and I will be going to see Zia. You know, these folks are really confused about why the United States of America is treating them in this manner. It's an incredibly disrespectful way to treat people who fought for your interests in their country. Next up, we have the one and only Kyle Ann Hunter, my battle buddy, the CEO of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America.
Thank you so much, Sean. And it's always a pleasure to be with you, my battle buddy here. So I'm Kyle Ann Hunter. I'm the CEO of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. I am a veteran of both Iraq and Afghanistan. That's actually a tow missile from Afghanistan, from my Cobra helicopter that I have in the background here. And I represent the generation of veterans that fought in both of these wars, that fought shoulder to shoulder with individuals like Zia and Syed and so many others that we are seeing here. Individuals who owe our lives to the bravery that these Afghans showed in standing up, knowing that they were putting themselves in danger. And though they fought shoulder to shoulder with us, they are now unjustly fighting the very system that brought them here to begin. And they are being put in situations where they did everything right, as you had heard here, and that they are having to question the ideals and the processes that they fought for, that many of them bled for, that many had lost their family for. And it is for this reason that, along with Sean at AfghanEvac, we started Battle Buddies, which is an initiative for veterans of any era to sign up to accompany our wartime allies to their immigration hearings, to court like this, because we know that due process needs to exist. We know that the rule of law needs to continue to stand to exist, and we will stand up for it together right now. Veterans across this country are rightfully outraged that we have here. In survey after survey that we do with our membership, this comes up as one of, if not the top issue that people care about. Beyond even their own VA healthcare, they care about how we are treating our wartime allies. And more than 3/4 of our members think we are not doing enough. And that number has continued to rise in the face of seeing individuals like Zia, individuals like Syed, so unjustly treated. And so we encourage all of you to go to afghanevac.org/battlebuddies, and Sean will make sure the information gets out there to learn more of what we're doing. We have had over 500 veterans across every single state volunteer to stand up and bear witness, because this is happening too much. This goes against every single ideal that we have fought for, and against the rule of law that is foundational to the Constitution that we all swore an oath to. And that oath doesn't expire. And so we as a veteran community are continuing to call on this administration to end the madness, to uphold the rule of law, to commit to due process, which are the ideals that we and these individuals that are being unjustly detained fought for, bled for, and too often lost our friends and family for. So thank you, Sean, and thank you for continuing to be my battle buddy in this fight.
Thank you so much, Kai. I couldn't be more honored to be standing beside you in all of this. Okay, folks, I want to open it up to questions. Please use the hand raise function, and we'll sort of triage from there. All right, we're going to go with Chris Polanski first. Chris, can you let us know what outlet you're from?
Sure thing, Sean. I'm Chris Polanski with Connecticut Public Radio. Two brief questions for Lauren. Can you clarify when Zia first arrived in the U.S.? And second,
Sure.
DHS told me today in a statement that Zia is, quote, currently under investigation for a serious criminal allegation, unquote. Do you have any insight into what they could be referring to there?
So in answer to your first question, he entered the country in October 2024. And in answer to your second question, I do not have any understanding of what they might be referring to by saying that he's under a criminal investigation. The expedited removal order that's been issued to him, it doesn't accord with a criminal investigation, because that would require a different legal process, and he would be in immigration court.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lauren. All right, Channel 8, WTNH.
Hi there, my name is Zuri. I'm a reporter with NewsAid. I actually had a similar question. But Lauren, given your answer, what is the next step in the process? Since again, I also reached out to DHS and they also said that he's under criminal investigation. So what is the next step since there seems to be some confusion as to why he was detained in the first place?
At this point, we have filed a habeas petition and, as I mentioned, obtained an order staying his removal. The government has an opportunity to respond to that petition, and we expect a response at the end of this week is when it's due. It could be sooner. And we'll see what the government says at that point. We assume that if there really is a criminal investigation, and if that's not pretextual, is some sort of a backpedaling as an explanation, then they would have to produce for us information relating to that.
And I just want to hop in here real quick and say that we have seen DHS in numerous cases over and over and over again make things up, stretch the truth, outright lie to the American people. Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, said, "Oh, things are great in Afghanistan. It's perfectly safe to send people back." And this isn't a partisan statement. It's a factual statement. These people are full of shit. Which is really unfortunate, right? And maybe there is a criminal investigation pending. But like Lauren said, it would be really curious that they were trying to play that out in immigration court. So I think it's worth scratching the surface on that. And I think that they're probably trying to buy time. They keep messing these things up. And, we need ICE to stop trying to take the low-hanging fruit of any random brown person that they can see on the street and start doing the job that the American people have hired them to do. Laura.
Hi, Laura Tillman from the Connecticut Mirror. I just wanted to ask about the decision to only share his first name. Is that for his safety if he were to return to Afghanistan, or within the US? What are some of the reasonings behind that?
Sure. I'll take that. And Lauren, do you want to go?
Yeah, great. You do it, Sean.
Sure. It's for all of the above, right? It's for his family's safety. It's for, frankly, this administration has proven pretty vindictive. So we want to protect his family. We want to protect his family here, his family in Afghanistan. And, it's asking a lot for him to have the courage to have his case out there like we are doing here. So we're going to respect his wishes. Go ahead, Toby.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. And Toby, you're from the Washington Post?
Yes. Earlier, Sean, you mentioned that there was another case in Texas of someone being detained and then being sent to Arizona. So I was just wondering if you could speak more on that.
We just got the early initial reports. I will have more on it, in a little bit. But what I can tell you right now is the man's name is Jamal. He was an Afghan national who helped the U.S. government in country after being recruited from an Afghan prison where he was detained after drug-related charges. He eventually made it here through the CARE program. He's been working at a local resettlement agency and FedEx. He was detained outside of his apartment by ICE back in April. And we're just starting to sort of hear about this, right? So we will put out information about his case. We'll send it to everybody. But we just know that it seems like there's been a targeting of our wartime allies who stood with our veterans, and that's just unacceptable to us.
Thank you.
All right, folks. It looks like we don't have any more questions. We will send the recording of this video. It'll be in the link that I shared here. We'll send it out to everybody who registered for this and our entire press list. Apologies for the million emails you get from me. Sorry, not sorry. This is really important. And I just want to thank all of the reporters that are here for showing up and for covering this, and to thank all of the participants that spoke, both Kai from IAVA, Lauren and Brian, attorneys, and then the elected officials. And thank you to Jessica for for helping put this together. It looks like Diane Gallagher has another question. Diane, go ahead.
So sorry about that. My hand would not go up earlier. Diane Gallagher, CNN. You have talked about these 6 masked ICE agents coming and grabbing him. Were there witnesses to this? How do we know how this went down? How he was detained?
Sure.
Sure. I can speak to that. So there's a wonderful friend of the family who used to volunteer with or still volunteers with a refugee resettlement agency in New Haven who volunteered with Zia's family several years ago and has continued helping over the years. And he, out of kindness and I think a lot of overcaution, but turned out to not be overcaution, wanted to go to the biometrics appointment with Zia and said, "Hey, I'll go with you, just in case something crazy happens. Who knows? It's a weird world we live in now." So that friend and volunteer was actually with Zia when he was surrounded. So there's a witness to it at that moment. And in fact, he called me about 1 minute after it happened, shaking, barely able to talk. It was so unexpected and so horrifying to him. So yes, we have an eyewitness of that account.
And if I can just follow up, sorry, we've done quite a bit of reporting on the directives as to sort of at different agencies where they're waiting. Was there anything at his appointment, his biometrics appointment, that seemed amiss to him? Anything that seemed strange? Was there any kind of paperwork that didn't go through, or anything they asked him to do differently? Or did this happen because he attended the appointment, correct?
He did attend the appointment.
Was there anything that was, looking back now, that seemed weird to him or to his friend who was there?
I have not asked my client that specific question about whether anything seemed off during the appointment. Overall, what was a bit unusual was, although this isn't always unusual for people who do a lot of immigration benefits, his children and wife had been scheduled an earlier day of the week separately from him for the fingerprints. So he was going just by himself instead of with the rest of his family. And I think that's actually a little bit of a pattern that we're seeing with people being picked up by ICE, that they prefer not to pick them up in front of all their children and their spouse. It makes it more difficult, more dramatic. So it seems to have been intentional that he was scheduled at a different time.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Well, thank you all for coming. We really appreciate you being here. Stay tuned. In a couple hours, you're going to get the video. You're going to get more facts, and we'll be looking for your stories. If you do a story, please do send it to us, and we'll make sure it gets distributed. Thank you, and have a great day.